Hurricane Nicholas has made landfall along the Texas coastline. Hello, I'm Mike Naso with this 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 1:30 a.m. Central Time, middle of the night update as we have a landfalling hurricane, continuing coverage here. You can see that infrared satellite imagery, a bursting hurricane, minimal hurricane, but still a hurricane, right there on the eastern edge of Matagorda Island and Matagorda Bay in Texas, very near Sargent, Texas. We have official landfall. I got to tell you, Nicholas tried and tried, and despite of the wind shear, it was able to become a hurricane. Here's the latest as of 1 a.m. Central, 2 a.m. Eastern from the Hurricane Center. It was at 28.8 north, 95.7 west, winds of 75, so it's a minimal Category 1 hurricane. Still a hurricane landfall for the United States, though, the second this year after Hurricane Ida. It's moving north-northeast at 10. Now, that's a little slower than a few hours ago. And that's bad news for the rainfall. As I mentioned, that's probably the biggest threat with this hurricane. You can see we do still have those hurricane warnings in effect. We have hurricane warnings from Port O'Connor, Texas to Freeport, and a hurricane watch from Freeport to San Luis Pass. And we also have a storm surge warning from Port O'Connor to Sabine Pass. That includes Galveston Bay and Matagorda Bay, because you will have water rises with that onshore flow around the hurricane. We've already seen some of that. I'll show you that in a minute. Nevertheless, you can see the forecast here is bad news for Louisiana. You guys are going to get drenched, because even though the hurricane is going to weaken to a storm, then a depression, it's going to move only that amount. Thursday, it's Tuesday. We're talking another 24, 48, even into the weekend, we could still be dealing with rainfall from whatever's left of Nicholas by then. Now, here's the map from the National Hurricane Center of where we expect Nicholas to go. You can see right now it is currently over areas of Matagorda County, moving into Brazoria. It will eventually move right over Houston, and it won't be a hurricane by then, I don't think, but it will still be a tropical storm. Even if it's a tropical depression, it's not really the intensity when it comes to the rainfall, it's the motion. And as it slows down and takes that east turn right into areas there, Lake Charles and Calcasieu Parish, all the way over to Jefferson Davis Parish, areas like Vermilion, Cameron, Lafayette, all of Acadiana, you guys are going to be impacted with heavy rain, to say nothing of Beaumont and Port Arthur as the storm passes by. Here's the latest radar as the hurricane made landfall right about there, when the center of the center crossed the coast. Looks pretty naked on the radar imagery for a hurricane, very dry and unfavorable here on the left-hand side. Nevertheless, that right side has strong winds. They've been getting hurricane-force gusts, and right now it looks like the Bolivar Peninsula up there towards Galveston Bay is getting in on some of the heavy action, to say nothing of areas of Port Arthur, Sabine Pass, and Cameron Parish getting in there on the rain. Here's another view of the radar, and you can see rainfall over Louisiana and Mississippi is starting, guys. Is starting. Nothing like where the hurricane center is, which is right over here, and the deepest thunderstorms, which are heading towards the Houston-Galveston area right now, and a pretty good line there headed towards Beaumont and areas of Port Arthur. Nevertheless, rainfall already beginning over saturated and Ida-ravaged ground. So we don't want the storm to rain too much and flood areas of southeastern Louisiana, because they're still recovering from Hurricane Ida. The tide gauges, if we look up the coastline here, you can see where the hurricane is right now. This is a tide gauge at Sargent, Texas. Look at that water rise. The pressure, 994 millibars. It was even lower than that. Here's Freeport. You can see the water rise there still going up. The pressure dropping. It was 1,000 millibars. It's 999 as the hurricane gets closer. And then even areas up here towards Galveston Island, Mud Island, you're talking about water rises on that buoy there getting up into the major flood stage. So that's a very dangerous thing with this hurricane, with any hurricane where you have the onshore flow. I mean, this is not going to be like Hurricane Ike, which completely submerged some of these areas. Nevertheless, water rises and hurricane-force winds right at the coast. Hopefully, past Freeport, you don't get any hurricane winds. But Freeport, has been a while since you've been in the eye of a hurricane, and you're getting it tonight. Now, Category 1, what do we think? Some damage expected with winds of about 75 miles an hour, but you could have wind gusts above 75. 75 is what the sustained winds at the surface would be. So you could have a 76 mile an hour wind and then a gust to 90. And that gust to 90 could do damage like on the left side of that screen. Trees down, power lines down, to say nothing of the flooding. I've seen some videos on Facebook and Twitter, a lot of flooding. Remember, this happens, small creeks and rivers. It happens all the time. It just sometimes seems even worse than it is because everybody's got a camera nowadays. But trust me, with a landfalling hurricane, this stuff does occur. You can see there's another look at this beautiful infrared satellite. Look at that burst right there. And that's what made it a hurricane as those winds came down to the surface, Category 1, making landfall near Matagorda, Texas, Sargent, Texas. Hurricane Nicholas, a September landfall on September 14th, 2021. The second hurricane to hit the United States this year after Ida. Nothing like Ida. Ida was a high 4. This is a low 1, but still a hurricane. Hunker down if you're in Texas. I'm Mike Naso with this red-eye update on Hurricane Nicholas, a landfalling United States hurricane, continuing coverage here on our YouTube page. Thanks for watching, subscribe, share, and I'll talk to you guys next time as Hurricane Nicholas makes landfall in Texas.